Hey, what's up? I'm Casey Okupi, and I'm with Free Speech Northwest. We usually do a talk show and everything, but I'm doing another one of my segments where I judge people. I judge what they say, what they think, and you need to judge everyone too, because otherwise, how do you know how you feel about them if you don't judge them? If they say something stupid, they're stupid. So keep that in mind. Now, actually, right now we're going to talk about genital preferences. What genitals do you prefer? With Riley Dennis. So let's listen to some of this crazy nonsense right now, please.
So what's been happening is that some people are making the argument that it's not cis-sexist at all to only be attracted to people with one kind of genitals. For example, these people might argue that being attracted to only women with vaginas in no way negatively affects trans people.
Can we hold on a minute? I'm only attracted to women with vaginas. And that's not sexist. It's not any sexist. It's not even nonsensical word sexist. It's not cis-sexist. Cis-sexist. That's too many S sounds. It's a lot of S's going on, and it's stupid. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with you just liking vaginas. And there's nothing wrong if you just like penises. I don't know who you are. I don't know anything about it. But you can like whatever you want. And anyone who says otherwise, anyone who pretends that there's anything wrong at all is a dummy. They're stupid. And they're a liar. But blah, blah, blah. We'll go into more detail. I'm just saying it's okay. You're probably still a good person. But as I said, I don't know you. It doesn't factor. It doesn't factor in to whether or not you're a great person and an awesome person, your genital preferences. All right, let's continue.
I would argue that it's more complicated than that. We all have our implicit biases built into our preferences, and gender isn't as simple as just the genitals you have. But after I say that, I usually get a bunch of blatantly cis-sexist responses. So I thought I'd address all of those responses at once. Number one, you're being homophobic. In this argument, I often get accused of homophobia, lesbophobia, or lesbian erasure by lesbians who believe that I'm trying to change their sexual orientation or identity. They say that my language sounds a lot like a dude who tried to turn them straight, or like conversion therapy. Those responses are rooted in cis-sexism. This is because I'm not telling lesbians that they can't be lesbians. If you're a woman who only likes women, go ahead, identify as a lesbian. But some women have penises, and if the fact that some lesbians might be attracted to those women offends you, it's because you don't think trans women are...
All right, let's pause it for a minute. Okay, because we're talking about some women have penises. I think Riley feels that Riley's a woman with a penis. Riley, I believe, enjoys intercourse with Riley's female partner, utilizing Riley's penis. But we don't have to get into detail with that. But women with penises, I don't, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. And it sounds like a pun. But... it's okay. You're still a good person if you don't want to have, like, if you're a guy who's straight and you don't want to have sex with, these words don't all go together. Like, it just doesn't, it's not, this is ridiculous. So anyway, whatever you like, you're still a good person. And Riley is a bad person. Riley? For judging you in that way. And I'm going to judge Riley for judging you. Shame on you, Riley. You're wrong and you're bad. All right, let's keep going.
Real women. That's because these accusations of homophobia make it sound like I'm trying to convince lesbians to like men, but I'm not. I'm trying to show that preferences for women with vaginas over women with penises might be partially informed by the influence of a cis-sexist society. You do not have to like men. You do not have to date men or have sex with men. And if you think that's what I'm arguing...
Can we pause it? You also don't have to buy in to anything. You don't have to believe anything that you think is stupid and wrong and dumb and a lie. You don't have to. You can even call it stupid. You can call it wrong. You can call it dumb. And you can say that people are liars. So, all right, let's keep going.
You're simultaneously strawmanning my argument and implying that trans women are men. Number 2, you're upholding rape culture. This is honestly the worst response that I've heard and probably the most cis-sexist one. That's because trans women have a long history of being accused of being rapists by cis women. It's the logic behind bathroom bills that prevent trans women from using the right bathroom. It's why some cis women are terrified of the idea of sharing a locker room with a trans woman. This is
Alright,
a
let's
very
pause it for a minute. The reason that there are like laws and things about transgender women not using the cisgender bathroom is because there are women who don't want someone with a penis in the bathroom or the locker room with them. Their feelings are valid. You just heard me say that. Their feelings are every bit as valid as someone else's feelings. I mean, the way that men feel about having women in the locker room or whatever, and the way that women feel about having men in the locker room, those feelings, like if you don't want someone of the opposite sex in the bathroom with you, you get to have valid feelings. You get to feel validated by that. You get to have those feelings. And it doesn't make you a bad person, regardless of what Riley says. So let's keep going.
Tactic used by anti-trans folks to discredit trans women as just men trying to invade women's spaces so they can rape them. Even if this is not your intention when bringing this up, this is what you are implying, and it is where this argument comes from. Suggesting that trans women are rapists for wanting to be fully recognized as women is extremely harmful. And I should note that I'm not saying you have to do anything without consent. I'm a big fan of affirmative consent, and you should never feel pressured to have sex with somebody. This isn't about an individual. This is not
All right,
saying
I want to pause it for a
have
minute. You shouldn't have to say that you're a fan of consent. I mean, you shouldn't have to necessarily say that. It's just like a big duh, and it's the only thing that's legal. Not having consensual sex is illegal. We're all a fan of it. All right, let's keep going.
To have sex with a trans woman or you're cis-sexist. It's saying that you should examine the societal influences on your preferences. There's a massive difference between honing in on individual scenarios and considering wider
All right, let's pause it for a minute. Riley's saying you should think about the societal influences on your preferences. No, you don't. You don't have to. You just don't have to. You can say, I feel this way, period. Good enough. I feel this way. I'm done thinking about it. That's the truth. That's a fact. You don't have to overanalyze the way you feel. You don't have to be a straight guy and go, is there something wrong with me because I don't want to have sex with someone with a penis who's a woman or whatever. You don't have to overanalyze that. You can just go with it. It's actually a big part of the reason why you exist. All right, let's keep going.
Issues and attitudes. Number 3, I'm allowed to have my preferences. Technically, you're right. You're allowed to have your preferences and you don't have to change anything. But there's more to it than that, and ignoring the deeper issues by stopping
Okay,
at a
hold on.
surface level
Let's pause
analysis doesn't do this issue any justice. Like, you're allowed to
Let's pause it for a minute. There's not more to it than that. There's not. You're allowed to have your preferences, and there's not more to it than that. That's why they're your preferences and not Riley's preferences. Most of you don't have Riley's preferences. Some of you might. Cool. Whatever. Good for you. But you don't have to analyze it any more than that at all. And anyone who says that you do is lying to you, and they're a bit of an ass. All right, let's keep going.
Have a lot of things. You're allowed to have prejudice towards trans people, but that doesn't mean you should. So if we look a little deeper into this issue, there's the possibility of your genital preferences being at least somewhat partially informed by growing up in a cis-sexist society. There's also the fact that a preference is different than saying you would never do something. Like, having a preference for tall girls is fine, but refusing to date anyone under 5'7" is ridiculous. And obviously that's not a perfect analogy because short girls...
Riley's telling you that it's ridiculous to not date anyone under 5 whatever. No, it's not. I mean, maybe you don't want to. And as I said before, I want you to feel good about yourself. And you know what? if you think short girls are gross and dumb, you don't have to tell them that. But you can feel whatever you want. But the point is, I don't know, we should base things on people's personalities. But we're talking about genitals right now. We're talking about genitals. Let's talk about genitals. You can prefer whatever genitals that you want to hang out with. All right, let's keep going.
Girls as a group don't face the societal marginalization that trans women do. But I'm interested in having a conversation about labels and implicit bias and trans-inclusive language. Simply saying, it's my preference, end of discussion, is a good way of sidelining all of those issues and instead centering the feelings of cis people in a discussion.
Riley keeps saying implicit bias, implicit bias, implicit bias. You know, sometimes things like bias and prejudice and all this other stuff, sometimes it's all based on experience. You know? Like, I don't know, like every time you see someone who's cross-eyed and they punch you in the face, you get to hate cross-eyed people. You know? That's fine. It's totally cool. You can feel anything you want, and it doesn't make you a bad person necessarily. You know, yeah, you can feel anything towards anyone. We're all individuals. That's a thing to keep in mind. None of us are the same, and we don't know another person based on how they look, unless it's kind of written on their T-shirt and it says, you know, I hate you because of so-and-so. Then, you know, you can assume that's true, but you know what I mean. Riley lives in a world where you aren't supposed to judge Riley's choices, Riley's life choices, Riley's gender and sexual preferences. We're not supposed to judge that, but Riley then tells us to look internally and to question ourselves. And you know what? To tell someone to question their preferences and to analyze it and to overanalyze it, that actually... To take somebody's preferences or genital preferences and say, you really need to question that. That's a form of abuse. It's abuse, and it's also, let me see, it's not moral. It isn't moral to tell somebody that they need to analyze their own sexual preferences, but you're not allowed to question their belief structure at all. That's wrong. Riley? That's wrong. You're wrong. All right, let's keep going.
About trans people. Number 4, I have a trans friend who says this is okay. People love their tokens. I've done an entire video on moral licensing and why this is a terrible defense.
Let's pause this for a minute.
You'll always be...
Riley talks about people who say I have a trans friend, and then Riley says people love their tokens. That's really a hateful thing to say. Like, people are friends with people for the most part, not for tokenism. They're friends with them because of their personality. Riley's a hateful person, clearly, obviously. Yeah, I have a trans friend myself, and I don't have them for a token. I have them because we've hung out and talked a lot, and they're cool, you know? When you say I have a black friend or I have a trans friend or I have a gay friend, which I have gay friends and all this other stuff, when you have all these friends and you say I have them, it isn't a token thing. And when people say that about you, they're hateful people, they're immoral people, and they're bad people. They're judgmental people who are trying to make you feel bad about... You're not fake and you're not phony. When you do have these friends, it means that you actually do judge people based on their personality and not these other things. Like, if you have black friends, if you have one black friend, or if you have 20 black friends, or 100, or one Mexican friend, or one Asian friend, or 20 gay friends, or whatever, none of that matters. It means that you're not homophobic. You're not racist. It doesn't matter how many you have, and if you say I have one, you're definitely not prejudiced against that. Otherwise you go, oh, one of those people, gross, bleh, you know, that's disgusting, I hate them. That's prejudice. Not having a friend who's some form of a minority group, that's not prejudice. And when people say it is, they're liars, and they should be ashamed of themselves. Okay, let's keep going.
able to find trans people to back up your cis-sexist views. You'll always be able to find gay people who spout anti-gay rhetoric. You can even find people of color who openly advocate racist policies. That doesn't make you right. Having a trans friend doesn't mean you're suddenly an expert on trans issues. People often internalize negative ideas about their own identities and regurgitate them with passion. I've met gay men who told me that their homosexuality was a sin and that their punishment was to be celibate for their entire lives. And even still, they'd probably go to hell. Obviously, that would be anti-gay for any straight person to say, and it's also not okay for gay people to advocate that. In the same way,
okay, hold on a second. Please, thank you. Riley's saying what it is or isn't okay for people to say. Well, I like to say things that aren't okay for me to say, and I like to say things that are okay for me to say. And I don't care. Like, I don't care what anyone says I'm allowed to say. I'm going to say whatever I want. And you need to say whatever you want. All the time. Anytime. Say anything you want to. Anytime you want. Now, if you're saying rude, crappy things, then, you know, maybe that's a reflection of who and what you are. But you get to feel and think anything you want to. And remember that. You know, things are all connected, of course. There's like when you think and your actions matter, basically. Like if you think something bad and evil and you do something bad and evil, you're bad and evil. If you think something good and you do something good, you're good. So think whatever you want. And when somebody tells you how they feel about that, that's on them. That's their thoughts and their feelings, and it does not have to impact you. It doesn't have to impact you any more than you let it. So when Riley says that these people should feel bad for their thoughts and feelings, you don't have to buy into that, and they don't have to buy into that, but whatever. Let's keep going.
Are saying cis-sexist garbage, it's still cis-sexist garbage. And look, there are cis people who are on my side as well, so if you think it's okay to point to your token trans friend, then I can just point to my token cis friend. Number 5, I'm triggered by
let's pause
penises
it for a
because
minute.
of past sexual trauma. That's completely...
Again, Riley said your token blah, blah, blah. Even calling someone a token anything devalues them. It's wrong. When you have a black friend, it's not your token black friend. It's just your friend. When you have a trans friend, they're not, and you only have like one trans friend, they're not your token trans friend. They're your friend. So when somebody says the word token in front of something, they're a bad, hateful person, in my personal opinion. I judge them that way. Okay, let's continue, please.
Understandable. I've never said that anyone should have to have sex with someone with a penis if they don't want to. If intimacy with someone who has a penis is triggering for you, I would never suggest that you have to do that. Take your time to heal and work through your trauma at your own pace. Just be aware that the majority of people making the I could never date someone with a penis argument are not doing so because of trauma or triggers. So that is all of the typical responses I could think of. The first 2 responses in particular come from TERF, RADFEM, and gender-critical ideologies, which are all proudly anti-trans. Even if you don't consider yourself a part of those movements, you're siding with them when you use their arguments. Their entire platform is cis-sexist, and their arguments reflect that. So even if you say you believe trans women are women, it doesn't do a whole lot of good if you're still completely siding with folks who don't believe that trans women are women. And the last thing I want to say about this is that if you'd rather not have sex with a woman who has a penis, maybe just don't make such a huge deal of it. Trans women are often afraid of not being found attractive or
Riley's saying if you don't want to have sex with a woman with a penis, don't make a big deal out of it. They don't. They don't make a big deal out of it. Riley makes a big deal out of it. I don't have sex with women with penises my whole life, and I've never made a big deal out of it. Yeah, it's just usually you can figure it out far in advance, I'm sure. And yeah, I don't know what Riley's talking about. Don't make a big deal out of it. Nobody makes a big deal out of it, but Riley, really. Yeah. There's a lot of tongue twisters in this. Let's keep going.
Desirable after coming out, and you're not helping. If you really want to be an ally to trans people, you could just not talk about it. And by that, I'm not trying to censor you, okay? So don't pretend this is censorship. You have the freedom to say whatever you want. I'm just asking you to consider if it's necessary to say those things when they reflect harmful or violent rhetoric. Because if you have an opinion that you know is only going to make people feel bad about themselves, why constantly share it with the world? It's fine to not find people attractive, but it's
pause
mean
it for a
to
minute, please. Riley's saying that if you have a view that promotes violence and all this other stuff, if you're a straight man and you don't want to have sex with a woman with a penis, every time I say that, it's anyway. If you don't want to do that, that doesn't equal violence. So when somebody says that that equals violence, that's pretend. They're lying. Like I said, I've gone my whole life not having sex with women with penises, and that's never resulted in a punched woman with a penis. That doesn't connect. It doesn't equal violence. That's a lie. All right, let's keep going.
Constantly yell about how unattractive you find those people, especially when those people are oppressed. For another imperfect analogy, it'd be like if you weren't attracted to girls with short hair. That would be fine, but you probably wouldn't write articles and make videos defending why it's okay for you to not like girls with short hair. You could do that,
Okay,
but
can we pause it? If you don't like girls with short hair, you can write articles about why you don't like girls with short hair. And a good reason to write articles about why you don't like girls with short hair is because someone like Riley's telling you that you have to like girls with short hair. So you gotta write those articles about not liking girls with short hair. Riley's telling you that you should. Girls with short hair, they're horrible people. Have you met a girl with short hair? I'm kidding. They're fine. I don't know what Riley's talking about. But you should write all the articles about everything you want, because people like Riley are being manipulative with their words, trying to imply that you should feel bad and you should feel shame about the way that you feel. That's a lie. You shouldn't feel bad or shame or anything because of like these manipulative words like cis, blah, 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 and that's supposed to be a bad word. And I don't know, just all the different, baloney words that you're supposed to feel so bad about. It's not true. You don't have to feel bad about any of the words that Riley says that are trendy. So let's finish up, I suppose.
It's just best to be polite. And that is everything I have to say on that topic. This video is a part of my Feminism with Riley series that I'm doing in collaboration with Everyday Feminism, a website dedicated to helping you stand up to and break down everyday oppression. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
All right, let's stop it. All right. Well, yeah, that was a lot of, again, absurd, nonsensical gibberish about how you should feel. About your feelings on different things. You should feel however you want. You're awesome. You're awesome. Even if you don't want to have sexual intercourse with a woman with a penis, you're still awesome. And if you're a straight woman and you don't want to have sexual intercourse with a man with a vagina, you're awesome too. And if you do, that's fine too, I guess. I don't care. But you're not a bad person regardless of how you feel about it. And anyone who says that you are is a liar. So I judge Riley as being a liar, telling people they should feel bad about things they shouldn't feel bad about at all. So, all right, well, that's it. Great. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. All right.